How are you? I was sitting in my other chair and I was bored with the background. And so I moved over here and put my computer on top of the piano. And what I noticed was that my virgin is right over my shoulder, which is so delicious. And then my Kuan Yin's over my other shoulder, here, right there, which is lovely for the conversation we're going to have today about the womb of the divine feminine. So I'm super excited about this computer placement. Giddy. So if you're here, tell me you're here, because as always, Facebook doesn't tell me that you're here. So if you are joining me today, please write in the comments and let me know that you are here as a part of this lovely Facebook Live. And I'm going to have a sip of my tea in my badass and brilliant mug. So good. So welcome. Again, if you're here, give me a sign. Tell me that you're here. Otherwise, I can't see you. It's really ridiculous. So I am so pleased to be here with you today because I just can't get over this awesome placement of the goddess and the virgin in my shoulders. I just am really, I'm happy about it because, you know, when you're looking for a sign that you're on the right path, and like lately I've been writing in my journal every day, give me obvious signs. Like, you know how when you're walking through life and God's like, well, you know, I'm going to give you subtle hints that you're on the right path. I'm like, no, I want like a 2x4 to the face that I am on the right path. And so I started asking for that, and I'm getting these slams in the face all the time. It's really lovely. So anyway, welcome to my world where the virgin sits on one shoulder and the Kuan Yin sits on the other shoulder. And oh, so excited about this placement. I can't even stand it. I wanted to start today by offering a word of thanks to one of the people that follows me. I got a message through my website. I didn't even know I could get messages through my website, so this is pretty amazing. But there's a contact page, and a woman sent me a message through there. And here was my 2x4 to the face that I'm on the right path, right? So it was watching your videos online and reading your posts have helped me so much. It's been too long for me to continue to worry about what others think and follow what has always been in my heart. Thank you for all you do. And I really love that she said, thank you for helping me follow what's always been in my heart, because that's really what I wanted to talk to you about today. So one of the things that I know for sure about the divine feminine is that I have an instinctual knowledge about the divine feminine. So there's like, I've spent most of my life questioning Christianity, but I have not spent most of my life questioning the idea of the feminine and the divine feminine, particularly when it comes to images such as Eve, the Virgin Mary, goddess images of women, images of connection with women. And so I have not spent a majority of my life questioning the divine feminine. I've spent a majority of my life questioning Christianity. And so since I found that to be such an interesting idea and concept, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about what that means. So I found this really great post from a woman named Cynthia Evans, and she talks about the Holy Grail. Now, I'm a big fan of the Holy Grail, not because it's a cup, not because it's a real thing necessarily, but because it's a symbol of feminine energy, the divine, and the womb. So what I think is really fabulous about the Grail, and actually Cynthia Evans says this really well, it is the Grail which can provide the much needed symbol for a revitalized Christian mythos, for it integrates the feminine, hi Patricia, the feminine aspect of God with the masculine, thereby including nature and the dark side of existence in its image of the divine. And this is what I think is super fascinating. So I have literally spent my entire life denying that God could potentially love me because of who I am as a human being. But I have never denied the sense of the divine feminine and the idea of womb and birth and life and abundance in my body or in my surroundings. And so what I think is really interesting about the Holy Grail in particular is that we are taught that the Holy Grail is a thing. But I would really like to invite us to think about the Holy Grail as a symbol of birth, as a symbol of abundance, as a symbol of fertility, and as a symbol of the divine feminine in a way that balances out the masculine aspects of God. Because if we can start to embrace that conversation, then we can get into, hi Cam, how are you? We can get into conversations about the cauldron. So one of the things that I love about the idea of all these vessels, like cauldrons and chalices and grails and like these caves and these ideas, is that the cauldron is actually for cooking, right? So a cauldron is for bringing together bunches of ingredients, putting them together, and then making something delicious out of it. But what happened so for the first 1,300 years of Christianity, witchcraft was not a problem. Sorcery was not a problem. Magic was not a problem. Midwives were not a problem. None of these things were problems for like 1,300 years. And then a pope got a hair up his ass to issue a papal bull that said that witchcraft is a problem. And then another pope got his hair up his ass to start talking about, hold on, I gotta put down my cup. I gotta get my notes close to my face because I'm blind. So what we've taught about all of this stuff is not necessarily the truth. It's the idea that the way we perpetuate the patriarchy is to all of a sudden make witches and cauldrons a bad thing. So it was actually church men who were causing the problem, so that in the 13th and 14th centuries, the Catholic Church said, hey, demonic possession and employment of magic is a bad thing. It's heresy. But it was church men acting as sorcerers that caused the problem. Now, where the hell is that story in the witch hunts? Honestly, it was men that were getting in trouble, not women. But then all of a sudden we go to the cauldron. Now, the cauldron, I don't know how many of you have a cauldron. I have a cauldron. I have a couple of cauldrons. But the cauldron is a deeply feminine image. And this goes back to the writing of Cynthia Evans. Because the cauldron provides a space, a beautiful womb-like space to create nourishment, rebirth, intuition, and wisdom. Those are functions of the feminine. Those are functions of the divine feminine. And so the cauldron, especially in Celtic mythology, represents the goddess of the land. Right? And so when we think of witches and we think of their cauldrons and their brews, and they're clearly like, putting a bunch of crap in there and to do bad things and bad magic. And what I have to say is that's crap. Because I really think that if we think about intuitively what we know about God and what we know about the divine feminine and what we know about our intuition and our instinct, there is no way, if I have a firm belief in God, that I was put on this earth to be anything other than what he imagined me to be. And that means that I am the entirety of my existence of the divine. I am the entirety of my existence as the feminine. I am the entirety of nourishment and rebirth and intuition and wisdom. And I invite you to think along the same lines. I invite you to think about the stories that we know about Eve and about the Virgin Mary. And I invite you to think about how it is not women that created the dichotomy of the virgin and the whore. It is the patriarchy that created that dichotomy. It is not women who created the divide between Christian and pagan. It is men. It is the patriarchy that created that divide. And in fact, for the first 1,300 years of Christianity, men and women were going back and forth between paganism and Christianity. We were bridging those gaps. So there were bridges being built, and a certain number of people had to tear them down and create the history that we now know. So I want you to think about this idea of how we have spent our lives thinking that we know the truth and the way and the word and the wisdom. But actually, if you think about the deep tug towards your instinct and what you instinctually know about love and what you instinctually know about God's love, then we cannot deny the divine feminine as a piece of the love of God. And if that is true, then we cannot deny the idea of healers and mystics and prophets being women, because women create community. Women build the bridges between the masculine and the feminine. Women bring people together. We do not tear them apart. And then I was thinking about this, about the Grail and about the chalice. And then I was thinking about the blade. So how many of you are familiar with this idea of the chalice and the blade, right? So we have the chalice, which is this glorious vessel that just comes down like this, and it's got that beautiful stem. And if you look at a woman's body, it's got that chalice form, right? Especially if you got some hips. So we've got these beautiful chalice forms, and then we've got the blade. And the blade splits the chalice. And so before there were words for penis and vagina, for example, we had the chalice and the blade. And those were metaphors for a whole lot of feminine and masculine ideas. And if we start thinking about the idea of the blade being made for separation, the blade is made for cutting, the chalice is made for birthing, then we can start to think about this idea that instinctually we know that we are drawn towards the divine feminine as a balance to that masculinity, as a balance to the Trinity of Father, Son, and Holy Ghost, as a balance to the idea that actually men and women and everybody else in between are created equal, not because we act more masculine or act more feminine, but because it is the divine will that we come together in balance and in harmony. And so I think that if we can embrace this idea, and we can look historically at the fact that it wasn't for the first 1,300 years of Christianity that magic and witchcraft and sorcery was bad. It wasn't bad. It didn't become bad until a bunch of people in the 1400s decided it was bad, because they couldn't maintain the growth of the patriarchy and the growth of the Christian church if magic was still acceptable, if everything was still running its course and women were still being held on equal playing fields as healers and mystics and sorcerers and magical people who could heal. We had to bring women down a notch. We had to associate the cauldron, the pot where people actually make soup, with witchcraft and bad things. And so if you start to think about and explore the idea that caves and chalices and cauldrons are actually just representative of the womb, and you can let yourself fall into that idea, then I think that we can really heal this us versus them mentality between paganism and witchcraft and Christianity. Christianity in and of itself is not a bad idea. It's the way it is wielded out into the world to discriminate, to destroy, that it's a problem. It says that I'm not connected. And if that is the case, then it is time for me to go. Have a beautiful day. Bye.